Welcome back to part 5 of the Absolute Reason Mentorship Program, with a focus on gender ideology as well as gender dysphoria. I am Joan, your freaky philosopher, and you are my absolute reason. It is in part 5 where we will further discuss and explore the threefold nature of the individual: will, knowledge, and action. Observe the first two, and they become 3. But before we get to part 5, let's do a quick recap as to what we explored and discovered in part 1 to 4. In the first 4 parts, we used Abigail Schreier's Hillsdale College lecture on her book Irreversible Damage, where she focuses on the gender ideology and gender dysphoria, specifically in adolescent girls. In her book, with her research, Abigail pinpoints beautifully exactly what the baseline state of the environment is around this specific topic. Abigail does further research and is able to categorize 3 different individuals who are affected by gender ideology and gender dysphoria. Thanks to Abigail's research, we now have a better understanding around what is happening within the environment, as well as what type of individuals are most commonly affected by gender ideology or gender dysphoria. Because of this insight gained, we could now move on to what exactly it means to form a proper relationship between the individual and the environment. It was observed that any relationship is built and maintained through a process of healthy communication. But it was also noticed that nobody within our educational system really teaches us as individuals the science of dialectic. This is a very specific way of communication between individuals, and this type of science is completely guarded and guided by the main principle of a pursuit for truth. It is the science of dialectic that offers parent and child a perfect opportunity to learn and discover a new language together, equal ground from which to discover the true nature of the reality. But you as the parent are still the parent. Your life experience and all the knowledge gained and understanding you have is not something that is lost, but that is something that should be built from. And this is where I stepped in with the ancient knowledge of understanding the first counterparts created within this dual nature. It is, after all, you, the parent, the guardian, who has lived and experienced the more subtle aspects of life. We have come to appreciate that gut feeling that tells us to turn left instead of right. It is that instinct we all, as human beings, have in the base, in the pit of our stomachs, that seem to keep us safe and guarded from the unseen dangers around us. We have come to respect this subtle aspect, this gut instinct of ours to keep us safe. The younger generation have yet to experience and learn to trust these subtle aspects of who we are. And this is why you as a parent must be prepared before you step into a conversation with your child to bring about the first counterparts created within this dual nature. It is a perfect position from which better to understand and explore the true nature of reality. If you as an individual can comprehend that first was energy and then matter, you will instinctively pursue the subtle aspects that stirred and formed within your child before the world of matter was expressed verbally or any other way by them coming to you and displaying gender dysphoria or having questions around the gender ideology currently present within our environment. If you from that very moment understand that what is to be pursued are the subtle energy aspects within your child, then before you actually pursue the outcome of that energy, then you will begin to pursue the reason, the cause, the what do we call this always in industry? The root cause of this gender dysphoria displaying. Pursue the root cause of anything. And we all know, because we are adults, because we have lived life, and because if corporate has told us one thing, it is go and discover the root cause of the issue and you will solve the problem. The same thing applies here. The only thing is we are very confused as to where to go and look for this root cause. The root cause is in the subtle aspects of your child. And to understand the subtle aspects of how these causes form together to bring the final outcome of gender dysphoria, one needs to understand the threefold nature of the individual. Nikola Tesla spoke about the threefold nature. Helena Blavatsky spoke about the threefold nature, and all the Vedas, Upanishads, just look around. They use different words, but it's exactly the same thing these beautifully spiritually enlightened people point to. It is the threefold nature of will, knowledge, and action that sets the biorhythm of the individual. And it is the biorhythm of the individual that brings formless into form. Well, that was a mouthful. So, today we are going to explore this threefold nature of the individual: will, knowledge, and action. Observe the two, and they become three. For orientation purposes, and also just for a bit of a prospect as to what knowledge is to come within this mentorship program, let's have a look at this diagram. We have explored the environment with the help of Abigail Schreier, and we are now about to go into the threefold nature of the individual, which is will, knowledge, and action. But what is to come is a study on the rhythmic relations between parts, the 4 steps of creation, as well as 10 conditions to adapt to the perpetual change of life and your everyday. And all of those concepts will be explored and studied with the help of our good friend Nikola Tesla. Woo! Now's the time that we will further explore how the spirit of things develop within the individual through a better understanding of the threefold nature of who you are: will, knowledge, and action. Observe the two, and they become three. I will be reading 3 short parts, but don't worry about it. I will return and just give you the entire concept in a nutshell. Let us begin by exploring the will of the individual. Will has to be contemplated on as absolute in its operation. For your very success depends on the intensity of your will, the comprehensiveness of your will, and the clarity of your will. Become fixed with intent, dear friend, until it reaches your experience. On we go to the second step of the threefold nature of the individual, which is knowledge. Everything in life assumes meaning and value on account of one's attached understanding. If knowledge is absent, meaning is also absent. But the capacity of the individual to know and understand the subject is far superior to the character of the object. Knowledge needs to form part of your being in order for the motive force to gain power. When the two are observed, they become three. And we have observed the will of the individual as well as the knowledge of the individual. When these two parts form a relationship, action is the effect thereof. Action does not surface one's consciousness or experience unless the two aspects of will and knowledge have been observed. This coordination of the threefold nature of who you are is absolutely potent. Step by step, you become harmonious with nature, and the forces of nature become harmonious with you, revealing the incredibly powerful technology that is your sacred heritage. Now that we have gained some insight around the threefold nature of the individual, let's grab that tool of dialectic science out of our back pocket and see how that assists us in better understanding the nature, the energy behind the materialization of gender dysphoria or questions around gender ideology. It is incredibly helpful to always remember that when it comes to dialectic as a science, that the question is far more important than the answer that follows. So when it comes to the will of the individual, what we have learned is that it is about the intensity of the will, the clarity of the will, and the comprehensiveness of the will. Already you as a parent are able to formulate and see how just this small bit of guidance on the intensity, clarity, and comprehensiveness will assist you to formulate questions to your child around what exactly it is within them that is stirring the questions around gender ideology. As a side note, in part 6, the following part, I will be using the process of dialectic, reflecting on my own personal life and experiences relating to gender ideology as a method and a practical example of what it is I teach here. So don't worry, just hang tight. we will get to a full and a comprehensive understanding of what may seem a little bit complicated right now. On we go to the knowledge gained by the individual. Everything in life assumes meaning and value on account of the knowledge gained by the individual. So when it gets to dialectic and formulating questions around the knowledge gained by your child, it would be wise to look at exactly what data streams support the will of the individual. Where did they get information from? And how is it that that information has added value and meaning to the original impulse, the will of the individual? Action does not surface one's consciousness or experience unless the two aspects of will and knowledge have been observed. You have to observe the two in order for them to become three. It is the coordination of your child's will and knowledge that ultimately becomes the catalyst for the action in the world of matter. If you gain through the process and the science of dialectic greater insights around what relativities support the will of your child, what relativities of information support the knowledge gained by your child, well then you will better understand the outcome that is the action within the world of matter. It is through that insight that you and your child can then further pursue the true nature of this reality. Life has a rhythm, light is the music, and you are the dance. I am Joan, your freaky philosopher, and you are my absolute reason. Thanks for joining me for part 5 today, and I'm looking forward to the practical application that we will be discovering in part 6.